I have had my doubts about the Houston Rockets this season, but last night's game was a really good win for them. I think a win that very much established that they truly do consider themselves among the best of the best in the Western Conference, and that they should be taken very seriously as a contender. I know it was just one game, but they kind of went through a rough patch recently, and they have really stabilized the ship over the last week or so. They were down 10 points last night against the Spurs going into the fourth quarter. They were down as much as 16 in the game, and they outscored the Spurs by 15 in the fourth quarter. Win 111-106. Reed Shepherd has a huge performance off the bench, 21 points, including, I believe, 12 in the fourth quarter. He had his own 8-0 run or 8-2 run in the fourth. KD didn't play insanely well, although played pretty good. Didn't have a ridiculous game. Jabari Smith was fine. Şengün had 20, 13, and 9, played pretty well. Amen Thompson had some good moments and has been good this year. But it was kind of just a very well-rounded effort. A lot of guys contributing. Not any one guy taking over and controlling the game by any means. And I honestly am very intrigued by the potential of this roster still in terms of how good they can be. I do think they're one piece away from truly being a serious title contender, and I think they are able to potentially find that piece. They do believe they still have enough assets and cap space and stuff where they could definitely find that type of piece still. And I'll be interested to see if they are a team that looks to be active here over the next week or two as we get up towards the trade deadline, because I think they could use that one more piece. But this is a really good win for them against a great Spurs team. They did a great job on Wemby defensively, who had, to be fair, an off night. But like Reed Shepherd coming in and contributing the way he was, team high plus 15, 21 points, huge fourth quarter performance. That's what they need. They need a guy like that to step up into that type of role. And I think when you see Reed Shepherd play like this, it's certainly indicative of what this team has the potential to be. You look at their schedule, they had a rough stretch here. They lost to Dallas, Portland, Sacramento. 4 out of 5 were losses, 5 out of 7 as well, though the OKC loss obviously doesn't hurt as much. But then recently they've won 4 of their last 5. They beat Minnesota. KD scores 39. They beat New Orleans, and then they beat San Antonio in a comeback win last night as well. They've been playing really well recently. The unfortunate thing that just happened, though, Steven Adams did just sprain his ankle, and apparently it's a pretty significant ankle sprain, and he will miss a good chunk more time. Already missed time earlier this year. Looks like he's going to miss more time, which is a shame. Obviously, that's a guy who they could really use, and I think they've been effective when they've had him healthy with these double big lineups. I mean, they're the best rebounding team in the league, and it's not even close. I think that's one of the biggest assets for this team that's really helped them out. But honestly, the numbers in general are indicative of a very good team. I mean, you look at their defensive rating, 5th best in basketball. You look at their offensive rating, 3rd best in basketball. They might be, I mean, they're one of the only teams in basketball to be top 5 in both. In fact, them and the Thunder are the only teams that are top 5 in both right now in basketball. They have established themselves among the league's elites, no doubt about it. Their net rating is 4th in basketball. They do a lot of things really well, and again, they are the best rebounding team in the league, and it's not even close. 55% rebounding percentage. They have an offensive rebounding percentage of over 40%. The best rebounding team in basketball, no doubt about it. That is a huge part of what makes this team great, in all honesty, is how good they are on the glass. And I think getting those extra possessions offensively, not allowing those extra possessions defensively, the fact that they do both those things at an elite level, by far and away the best offensive rebounding team, but then also a top 7 defensive rebounding team as well. That is a huge aspect of what makes this team great, because it limits opposing team possessions when the Rockets are on defense, and it gives them extra possessions offensively, which can help assuage some of the things at times that can be the flaw of this team. I do at times worry about the playoff viability of Amen Thompson. Not because I don't think he's a very good player. I think he does a lot of things well. I think his skill set is extremely valuable. The athleticism, the rebounding, the competitiveness, the defense, the finishing, the playmaking, all that type of stuff is great. But he's shooting 19% from 3 on 2 attempts a game this year. I'm glad he continues to shoot them. He's not shooting them well. And there is no sign that says he's going to start shooting them well. That's concerning. He needs to be at least halfway competent three-point shooter, because people will put their centers on him in the playoffs and they will let him shoot. Now, to be fair, it's more difficult to do that against him than it is against other players, because he is so explosive and athletic off the dribble that you leave him open and sometimes he will just come dunk on you or finish around the rim on you and just do some pretty spectacular things off the dribble. Not a guy who you're still going to be able to ignore offensively by any means, even with his limitations as a shooter. But I do wonder if that's going to hurt this team come playoff time in terms of their spacing. KD is at 37 years old, having is he 38 now? Either way, having an incredible year again. I think he's still 37. 25.9 points per game, shooting 39.5% from three, over 56% from inside the arc. Averaging 5.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists a game, and again 26 points per game on high level efficiency. Having another offensive year that has been absolutely awesome. Jabari Smith frustrates Rockets fans. There's a lot of complaints, I think, at times about Jabari Smith because the shooting can be hit or miss. The decision making can also be a little hit or miss. That can be said also for Tari Eason in terms of not as much the shooting being hit or miss. He shot the ball really well from three this year, but the finishing is a little iffy at times. And while he does provide a lot of defensive effort, the offensive playmaking is pretty much non-existent with Tari. He has a negative assist to turnover ratio, and I think that has been an issue for him. That was an issue for him last night. I mean, in general, I just think he tries to do too much at times on the offensive end of the court with the ball, and definitely goes beyond his abilities. But Şengün's been awesome, despite the fact that he hasn't shot the three ball well either. It's concerning at times because if you're really going to try to start Steven Adams, Şengün, and Amen Thompson, that lineup is just so clunky. It's just very limiting, I think. As much as the double big lineup of Şengün and Steven Adams can be really effective on the offensive glass and things like that, it certainly has the potential to kill their spacing ability. That's where guys like Josh Okogie, Dorian Finney-Smith, Aaron Holiday, obviously Reed Shepherd, who's shooting almost 41% from three, averaging 13 points a game now as well, and has been really, really nice for this team as of late. Also a 3-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, which is a W. Really comes in big. I think despite the fact that Reed does get targeted a bit defensively, at times I think Reed gets targeted defensively, not because he is a terrible defender, although yes, the size can be an issue, but more so because of how many good defenders the Rockets have. When he is the weak link, they're going to go after him, and I think he does a decent job of trying to hold up. He is undersized. He does struggle at times defensively. But I think the offensive ability that he gives you as a playmaker who is also an elite floor spacer is very, very valuable. And I think his role is going to likely continue to expand. As we get closer to playoff time, they need him to be a high-level player. I will say, as much as Aaron Holiday has been okay off the bench for this team, the Dorian Finney-Smith stuff has not worked out so far. I mean, he just hasn't played a big enough role for this team. He hasn't played enough, and when he's played, he hasn't played particularly well so far. Only shooting 26% from three so far this season. That's obviously not really what you're looking for. But I will say there is room for improvement still. I'm not saying this roster is like a finished product come playoff time. They're currently the 4 seed in the West. Now, the 4 through 7, really the 3 through 7, feels pretty up in the air right now. The Denver's going to get Jokic back healthy relatively soon, so that might change. But they have now played themselves from where they were the 7th seed earlier this week, now back up into the 4 seed. And they have an opportunity to continue to stabilize. I think they could absolutely, and probably are my favorites at this point, to finish with that 4 seed and maintain home court advantage, at least in the first round of the playoffs. And I'm really interested to see because cap space wise, they have a little bit of flexibility. They have Fred VanVleet that they could trade in terms of money they can get off of this year, not having to worry about his player option next year too, although $25 million a year really isn't a bad value for him. I think if he comes back relatively healthy next year, they could still definitely use him, but they could also consider trading him. There is an opportunity there. Maybe you trade him plus draft assets for a guy like Chicago Bulls Ayo Dosunmu, or who was the other? There was another player that I was thinking like would make a lot of sense for this team. Another guard. Wow, my brain is completely... I'm having a complete brain fire. I had 2 guys. Ayo Dosunmu is one of them. I think he makes a lot of sense. I had another player who I was like, this makes perfect sense for the Rockets. But my brain is not... I can't think of it. I'm honestly not sure. Either way, they need a guard. They could use one more. 100%. I think if they could get Ayo Dosunmu, he is a perfect fit. A guy who can actually shoot the ball, fits into the defensive culture of this team, capable playmaker. He's the type of guy who would be really useful if the Bulls decide to trade him. Keon Ellis would be nice from the Kings. That's another guy who I think could be a helpful guy. Another player who fits in defensively and provides a little more of that floor spacing ability that they need. I'm just interested to see if they make a move at the deadline, because I think if they are able to make the right move, they could put themselves in position pretty easily where they can be serious title contenders. I'm not saying they're not title contenders right now. I think there's an argument to be made that they certainly are, but I think thrusting themselves squarely into real title contention with one more move would make a lot of sense. They have the cap space to do so. They have a couple of draft assets left that they can trade. Be interested to see what this Rockets team does here over the next couple of weeks, but they've been playing pretty well as of late. Definitely have restabilized, which I give them credit for, and they look like a scary threat in the Western Conference. No doubt about it. I hope y'all did enjoy the video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more NBA content very, very soon. I appreciate y'all. Peace.